Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today's date. That was terrible. But we're going to keep going. That was terrible. I had the date in my head, and it completely went. Anyway, today's date, August 25th, 2021, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On How the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before I do get started, just to say we do try to be a family-friendly podcast. Come on, focus on me. There we go. Sometimes the focus goes out of a little place. Anyway, what I was saying, family-friendly podcast. Sometimes we do try to watch our language. Sometimes words do fly, and sometimes things may be shown that may be of a graphic nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, I want to start with some stupid news first because I'm just gonna start with the first. I'm just gonna start with the first one and go from there. Anyway, of all things happening in school, you would think for 1 second we would not be worried about a gender or sexual orientation of a teacher, especially if the teacher's trying to actually teach our students and not trying to bang our students. That being said, as you see right here in this story, a volleyball coach in Colorado who was at a Christian high school was forcing him to leave his job because he refused to denounce being gay. Even though he is gay, the whole story with this is that administrators at the school wanted to basically sit there and see if whether or not for him to denounce his sexual orientation. He said, it's a quote unquote, he does say the cultural document of Valor Christian, which is the school that he's teaching at, that was given to me during the interview process, didn't mention anything about their stance on LGBTQ+. He also told CNN in the original post that in the course of the meeting, he told the students parents pay too much money to have their kids be coached and taught by someone like you who identifies as a gay man. That's the thing I've never understood. I mean, of all the things that you're worried about, literally and figuratively, you are worried about the sexual orientation of an administrator. That part never made sense to me. So what if he's gay? I mean, the question you really should be asking yourself is the kid learning anything? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I had some teachers in grade school that might as well have been werewolves. But guess what? Gave me a pretty good education. Nobody questioned them, and they were hairy as all get out. Even questionably hairy, like Bigfoot on a missing razor day heavy question. But again, it never ceases to amaze me, especially at religious schools. Religious schools are the absolute worst when it comes to LGBTQ. It is almost like having it's like having Chick-fil-A's teaching your kids. And they are worried about the simple fact of the matter that a single teacher who's a volleyball coach and also a social studies teacher, they're worried about his sexual orientation for what? You should be asking yourself, is the kid learning? That's what you should be asking yourself. But again, like I said, I call it stupid news because, again, it is stupid that this individual here, who is literally considering leaving his job because the school wants him to basically come out and sit there and say that he's gay. It makes no sense. What also doesn't make any sense is that the simple fact of the matter is, guys, I talked about this last week, and yes, it's still happening.
For horses, medicine for cows. But the Mississippi Poison Control Center has been pelted with calls from people taking ivermectin in a dangerous attempt to dodge COVID. And officials say 70% obtained the drug from animal supplies. 2 people hospitalized.
Why in the world would an individual would want to take a medication for livestock?
Officials say most of the reported cases have not been too serious, but they warn taking a dose intended for a 1,000-pound animal could lead to overdose, to seizures, coma, and even death. The FDA tweeting, "You are not a horse, you are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it."
Let me just say very clearly that ivermectin is not a recommended treatment for COVID-19. It is not a recommended drug to prevent COVID-19.
Still, with the White House and so many health officials steadily encouraging legitimate, approved, free COVID vaccinations,
the sooner you get fully vaccinated, the sooner you'll be protected.
how has ivermectin come into play?
Ivermectin.
Right-wing media hosts have claimed it is widely used to prevent COVID hospitalizations and deaths, the same way some on the right encourage wild hopes for cures based on UV light and hydroxychloroquine.
It's a potentially life-saving medicine that we are desperately trying to evaluate in the middle of a global pandemic.
And then President Trump embraced many of these quack remedies.
Then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
To be clear, the National Institutes of Health say ivermectin is used to treat some human medical ailments, but not any viral infections and not in doses big enough for a horse.
There are just some things you just cannot make up. They're just not. Ivermectin, yes, I've said this last week, still saying it again, because I had to ask this question. I had to ask this question so much. Where is it coming from? Because it just can't be dumb people in some states that are just sitting there thinking, well, I give this to Mr. Ed all the time, and he ain't got sick. Maybe I should try it on myself. I cannot imagine anybody out there looking at their horse or cow and going, okay, what's the harm? They had to be told. They had to be told. And I have been saying this, even though I did not have video proof, because I still believe the proof is in the pudding. I did not have video proof. I just had a strong inclination that somewhere on the Fox News side of things, this had to be them. And of course, the big three, I call them the big three: Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and that douchebag Tucker Carlson. Technically, they're all douchebags, but still, they all were praying. Well, in some studies, it's been helped. That's like, but here's the thing that I keep saying about the Fox News side of things. All those guys are vaccinated. You will be hard pressed to find one individual over on Fox News, OAN, or any of these right-wing, extreme right-wing networks. I will bet you dollars to donuts they are all vaccinated. But they're not going to tell you what they got. They're not going to tell you the vaccination they got. Oh, no. But they'll run with every one of these wild stories. They'll run with every one of these, oh, but if you do this, then this will be great for you. But at the same time, this is why I sit there and say it. And I said this yesterday, especially about that milk crate challenge. That milk crate challenge, so help me God. I said this on my Facebook post, and it ticks me off because of how many people are doing it and the greatest amount of injury that you are literally walking across a stack of milk cartons with no structural support and no equipment on to protect yourself. People are getting injured, severely injured. I hope nobody has died from this, because everybody's taking headers. I mean, you're literally, you'd be lucky to land on your back or your side. Some people are landing on the base of their heads or the necks. But I always sat there and said, how can this stupidity latch on to so many people so fast to where it's scary? And I thought about it. Replace that with ivermectin and Fox News. Fox News is not a news station. There are no news journalists over there. There are no integrity reporters over there. So it amazes me so, with all that being said, that a lot of people, not just Mayo people, are fully confident and comfortable with watching Fox News. Why? They will sit there and tell you something that they give to livestock in large doses that people will try to take, but we shouldn't be surprised. Remember hydroxychloroquine? People were taking that, Poison Control Center. People were drinking bleach. That alone, that Trump said, oh, just drink some bleach, I'll knock it out. Yes, drinks Clorox, because, there's nothing harmful about that. And people ate it up. There has to be a responsibility level here, and it's not with this. Because even so, like I said, when it comes to stupid people, I'm not surprised anymore. Especially this last part of stupid news I got, because keep in mind, Trump is still out there, and he even told people to get the vaccines. Watch what happened.
Thousands of people in Alabama gathering for Donald Trump's rally as the state struggles with a surge of new coronavirus cases. Trump facing a wave of boos, in fact, by his own supporters when trying to tell the crowd to get vaccinated.
In your freedoms, I do. Bree, you got to do what you have to do. But I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine. If it doesn't work, you'll be the first to know. But you do have your freedoms. You have to maintain that. You have to maintain that. And you got to get your kids back to school.
Joining me now is Olivia Choi, director of the Republican Accountability Project.
I just love that. There's just Trump sitting there telling people, hey, get the vaccines. They're good. I got it. You should get it too. Boo! No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll tell you what, if it doesn't work, you'll be the first to know. Is it just me or is it comical? This is the same guy who came out and tried to take, number one, try to take credit for the vaccines. Keep in mind, Operation Warp Speed, he tries to take credit for that as long as he gets. Oh, if it wasn't for me, Operation Warp Speed, we would not have the vaccines that we have right now. Okay? It's me. I did it. I thought about it. It's my plan. I take credit for it. Okay? It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's grand. That's how he tried. Even though now he's sitting there telling people, because keep in mind, everybody remembers when he got tested positive COVID because he basically turned the White House to one big ass petri dish. Him and the first hostage, lady, got COVID. What do you think they got treated with? And you're gonna sit there and tell me now that after all said and done, he's trying to go back to his cult and say, "Hey guys, get the vaccine, traitor!" Because again, and not to go into this tangent or not to go into a rant, because I see it all the time on social media. I do study social media and I do study the human condition. It never ceases to amaze me that when it comes to unvaccinated people, and I do have a few stories for unvaccinated people coming up, but it's amazing how they keep on saying this. And I want to say this before I move on to the next part of the news I got, but I want to stress this out so much. Ladies and gentlemen of the unvaccinated, your freedoms are not being taken away from you. I see a lot of people comparing, oh, you're going to get a vaccination card. It's going to be like a social security card. It's going to be like a driver's license. You're going to have to do this. You're going to do that. No, it's not going to be any of those things. Because you want to know why? You still have your freedoms. You still have your freedom. You have your right to get vaccinated. You have your right to not get vaccinated. You know what happens to those who don't want to get vaccinated? Nothing. Nobody comes to your door. Nobody in a government suit's going to come up and sit there and say, hey, you need to get this. Nobody's going to be kicking on your door saying you're unvaccinated, but you're going to get mandatory vaccinations. No one is saying that you have to do anything you don't want to do. Now, that alone should explain to you that you have freedoms and your freedoms are being respected. If you choose not to get vaccinated, cool. That is your choice. Your consequences will affect us all, but it's your choice. No one is forcing you to do anything you don't want to do. However, the world is moving forward. The world is moving forward with a lot of things they're doing to help vaccinated people, and people who would decide to remain unvaccinated are going to still have a quality of life. It's going to be very different from a vaccinated person. But I want to say this before I move forward, that the unvaccinated people, please do not mistake inconvenience with acceptance of your consequences. What I mean by that is you are not being inconvenienced. You are just not seeing the fact of the consequences of the choice you made for not being vaccinated. So again, your freedoms are not being hindered. There's nobody coming to get you. You're not that important. You're not going to be microchipped because you have a smartphone. If the government wanted to track you and listen to everything that you say, that little smartphone device that you have does it already. And on top of that, you're worried about it, and you're worried about a vaccine card. For a lot of people that's been through school, you have something called an immunization report that you had to have since grade school. Guess what? There's already a report card about your vaccinations that you had on you at all times, or at least your parents did. Your freedoms are being hindered. Just want to point that out. And speaking of things I did want to point out, a lot of people are really coming down on Biden, especially with the troop withdrawal. As he did say that we will be leaving Afghanistan by the 31st of August, and right now that is less than 5 days away. And again, it amazed me that all the G7 attendants of different leaders are wanting Biden to extend the troop deadline. That's funny. I haven't seen any of their people over there besides American troops, and yet they want Americans to stay there. Yeah, but anyway, Biden actually has released a statement on that and said he is going to hold the line, and August 31st is going to be the hard deadline.
Time is running out for thousands of people hoping to escape the chaos in Afghanistan, where America's longest war will officially end in less than 1 week.
We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops.
President Biden is standing by his August 31st deadline to withdraw troops and evacuate both Americans and the Afghans who helped the U.S. mission. Families desperate to leave have been boarding buses under the cover of darkness. Once at the airport gates in Kabul, fewer than 50 yards separate the final Taliban checkpoint and U.S. forces. The Taliban controls who gets into the airport and who does not.
We're waiting to get through, but they're not letting us at the moment.
On Tuesday, the Taliban announced it's now blocking Afghans trying to leave the country from reaching the airport, claiming it wants to protect people from terrorist threats. More than 70,000 people have been evacuated in the past 10 days, including more than 5,400 Americans. But there are new concerns about where some of the evacuees are being taken. ABC News has learned officials in Qatar are privately warning about a growing crisis at facilities where refugees are being held due to a lack of space, food, and water. In the meantime, 2 members of Congress are now defending their secret trip to Afghanistan. Congressmen Peter Meyer and Seth Moulton traveled to Kabul Tuesday, claiming they wanted a closer look at the situation. The trip prompting a letter from Speaker Nancy Pelosi, warning lawmakers that traveling to the region would distract from the evacuation process. But in a joint statement, Meyer and Moulton, both of whom fought in Iraq, say they took a military flight into the country. They say the flight was not full and that their flight out included some empty seats.
And as for that August 31st deadline, President Biden says contingency plans were being developed to adjust the timeline if necessary, but the military will soon have to start packing up and moving out if they're going to meet that deadline.
So with that being said, I still support, Biden will actually catch a lot of crap. And I say this all nicely. He will catch a lot of crap because he is doing the one thing that, well, I can't say Trump was trying to do it, and I can't say Bush was trying to. Obama had said the wars in Afghanistan need to end, but keep in mind, Obama was fighting a Congress that was pretty much against him, and especially with Mitch McConnell running the Senate. So I get it. America's tired of war. I have been saying this, and I have yet to see anybody prove me wrong. If you go in America's history, we have less than 20 years of our entire history where we were never in a war. We actually had 20 years. Think about this. The entire history of America, there is a brief 2-decade period we weren't in a war. Ever since then, there's always been a theater of war that the US of A has always been involved in. I don't know about you guys, I am tired of war. I am tired of our military. We're not the world police. Do I feel for Afghanistan? Yes. But, all that money that was built into training the soldiers, all that money that was built into helping them establish government, all that money that was built in helping them establish infrastructure, in a matter of hours, it was all gone. We could sit there and say that, yes, they may have been training Taliban under disguise. You can call it what you will. But there's a history with Afghanistan. America wasn't the first country to go in and try to colonize it, if you will. Other countries have tried and failed. There's a history behind this country. And again, this is all I'm saying, that Biden made the right call. That, yes, we needed to withdraw. Our time in Afghanistan is over and done. We didn't need to stay there. I mean, honestly, we should have been out after Bin Laden got 86. We stayed there in a 20 plus year stay. We stayed 18 years too long. I cannot knock Biden for this. He will. I mean, he will. Will he be criticized for the hard stance he's taken on this? Yes. In the end, the long time decision was the right call. Yes. And he's actually. I mean, he's standing his ground. I have to give him that. But there's nothing else we can do for the Afghan people that they need to do for themselves. If they want the country to change, then they themselves should be fighting the Taliban, or at least show some signs of it. Because right now it looks like the Taliban just claimed everything but the airports in every area that the U.S. military is still at. And that alone says a lot. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this. If you're ever wondering why all your stuff's going up but your paycheck, especially in the world of shopping, there's a reason for that. And it's because, well, COVID.
More stores are having trouble stocking the shelves because of the shortages tied to the pandemic. Shoppers are being urged to buy other brands, other favorite products. It could be next year before the problems are resolved. Here's ABC's Megan Tevrizian.
This morning, a warning for shoppers. The logistics nightmare that began during the pandemic may be getting worse. Supply chain delays and labor shortages are hitting everything from shipping companies to grocery stores. And the problems could extend from this back-to-school shopping season all the way to the holiday shopping season.
The real challenge comes from how the products are getting to the stores. There aren't enough truck drivers to drive that product to the stores. There's not enough cargo trains that are going to be able to get that cargo to the stores.
At grocery stores, the supply chain disruptions come as demand hits an all-time high, with people dining in more and eating out less, just as kids go back to school. Kraft Heinz says its popular Lunchables is seeing double-digit growth for the first time in 5 years. The company saying it's working fast and furiously to get more product into the hands of consumers as soon as possible. One grocery chain is getting so desperate it had to create its own version of Lunchable snacks because shipments were behind.
So many behaviors changed during the pandemic, and that's kind of what we're experiencing. There's a lot more confidence in the kitchen.
The Delta variant of the coronavirus has forced some ports overseas to work less than capacity, creating a logjam, meaning shoppers will pay more for a wide range of products and have fewer options. Companies like Adidas, Hasbro, and Crocs are already warning consumers to expect disruptions during holiday shopping this year.
And back to grocery stores, some chains saying they are stockpiling goods to keep their shelves stocked. One company recently saying it purchased 50% more items than usual to try and get ahead of the supply chain problems.
Well, I'm going to be honest, folks. You're going to see a lot more of that, especially come the holiday season. Once we finally get into the cool winter, or as I like to call it, once we finally get winter is coming, I am going to look so forward to that. It ain't going to be freaking funny. But holiday season, especially, we're not even counting Thanksgiving and Christmas. Oh, that's just going to be a freaking nightmare at this rate is what it's going to be. But again, this comes to what a lot of this actually could have been helped, especially if Americans did actually have a mass transit rail system and not really depended on trains as much. I mean, truckers, people working in supply groups and factories. Guys, this is all connected. All of this is connected. If you stop paying the workers, supply chain takes a hit. Supply chain takes a hit, stores don't get filled. And of course, like most things with supply and demand, if the demand is high and the supply is short, prices will increase. Shouldn't be surprised by this. We should be asking, why does this happen? Especially from the simple fact of the matter, again, that, let's be honest, almost 90% of what America buys is actually imported now. So, again, says a lot about where our infrastructure is. But there's always Christmas. Moving right along, I did want to cover this part because, like I said, I had a story for the unvaccinated, and I knew y'all guys were going to like me when I say this because Delta Airlines, remember when you used to get on the planes to fly somewhere? Delta Airlines will now charge employees on the company healthcare plan $200 a month if they fail to get vaccinated against COVID. This is a policy that the airlines executive board has said is necessary because the average hospital stay for the virus cost the airline $50,000. So, I think that's interesting that now if you're unvaccinated and you work for Delta and you are an employee for Delta, there is a $200 surcharge. And a lot of people are sitting there saying crying foul. You cannot cry foul about this. I have been saying this. The unvaccinated, you know who you are out there. This is your new normal. That because you're unvaccinated, it will cost more for your care than probably somebody who is vaccinated. So of course, because companies don't believe in 100% healthcare pay anymore, they want their employees to shoulder some of the health excuse me, they want their employees to shoulder some of the care, which again is beyond crazy. Because it used to be that it was 100% employee covered health, employer covered health care, but now in this day and age, they're asking us to shoulder some of the costs because they want to keep more profit. But anyway, again, I've been saying this to you, unvaccinated people. If Delta, an airline, is already doing a $200 surcharge for unvaccinated, companies will soon follow. No different than if you're a tobacco smoker, you pay a surcharge. Ask anybody that smokes. Anybody that smokes tobacco, your company, I'm 100% certain, if you're paying on their healthcare plan, you're paying a surcharge. $100, $200, whatever they decide, and they'll say it's to offset the cost for hospital stays for their employees. You can't get mad. And I know unvaccinated people are going to be saying, "Well, this is a jump on our rights. This is the." I said, "No, you can't get mad. You can't get mad because again, nobody's at your door forcing you to get vaccinated. Nobody's coming after you or saying that you have to get vaccinated. But my job requires it. Yes, because now there is a FDA approval. There's an FDA approval granted on the Pfizer. You don't think there's not going to be one coming from Moderna and Johnson very soon? It will. There'll be an FDA approval on all three of the vaccines that are out there right now. And you don't think for 1 second, that companies are already not out there doing, you have to be mandatory. Your vaccines are mandatory now. Why? Because FDA approval on vaccinations means zero liability for companies, which means that now companies can go forward and sit there and say, if you are not vaccinated, we can fire you and you can't sue us. This is coming full circle. But again, your rights are. I say this again to the vaccinated people. Your rights are not being violated, but your consequences you do have to take accountability for, because now you have to live with the air. We have to live with the consequences of your choices, and because this affects us all, we also have to live with it. So of course, you finna come out the pockets, or not have a job. Completely up to you. But speaking of things that don't have a job, I wanted to cover this before we get to the last bit of news I have tonight, guys. OnlyFans. Let's be honest about OnlyFans. I got to cover this because I covered this on my Optimus podcast this Monday about OnlyFans, and for everybody doesn't remember, OnlyFans did come out and sit there and say that they were going to reverse their content ban, which means explicit content. So all those who are of the adult variety and the heavy adult variety, those content creators were about to move from OnlyFans, because keep in mind, the company that owns OnlyFans was trying to market their brand in order to actually get more industry funding. However, the industry funding and financial markets that be did not like the fact that adult content creators are on their site, even though the larger amount of them could have possibly made more of an impact for OnlyFans than other creators. But anyway, that being said, OnlyFans announced as of today that they were reversing their policy on this and said that they want to be inclusive for creators and advocates for sex workers. Now, here's the funny part about all this, because everybody who's a sex worker is claiming like, "Yay, we did it, victory." Here's the thing that I want to point out so much to sex workers, where they sit there and said, and quote, "The subscription site said in a prepared statement Wednesday that the planned ban was no longer required due to banking partners' assurances that OnlyFans can support all genres of creators and declined to answer further questions." Let me read that again. The subscription site said in a prepared statement Wednesday that the planned ban was no longer required due to banking partners' assurances that OnlyFans can support all genres of creators and declined to answer further questions. Y'all, what that basically means is OnlyFans secured the bag. I said this before on I said this on my Alphonse podcast just Monday. I'll say it again. Sex workers didn't create OnlyFans. You guys profited off of it. OnlyFans profited off of you. They took 20% of whatever earnings you got. They profited, so did you. They got exposure. They got word of mouth. They got free advertising. You got paid. The company that owned OnlyFans was like, okay, how can we make this bigger? How do we get to the next stage in corporate? How do we get it? How do we take our company from level 2 to level 57? And you know what they sat there and said? For all those that don't know, they were looking for partners, looking for investments. Their company right now, the company that owns OnlyFans, is valued at $1.2 billion. And they were looking for capital funding. Now, for all those that don't know, capital funding is not very easy, especially when you're looking for investments with deep pockets. And I mean like deep, like Goldman Sachs deep, Warren Buffett deep, Jeff Bezos deep. It's like the evil mastermind genius deep pockets. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm trying to get at. Those guys. But in the financial world, they don't see sex work. And I said this on my podcast. I said this on my Alphonse podcast this Monday. I said in the financial markets, they don't see sex workers as a staple market. It is a volatile market. It has ups and downs. There's no stability. And I think it's a little bit hypocritical coming from a group of people that play in stock markets all day, especially when you gain money and lose money all within the same day. It's playing at a casino, but you're gonna have the nerve to sit there and tell sex workers that, hey, you're not very stable, so we can't invest in you. And so OnlyFans sat there and said, oh, well, so you're telling us we have to drop them to make ourselves look more marketable? Cool. Okay, you guys have been great, but y'all gotta go. Again, what I just said in that statement was so true, that their banking partners have assured them that they can continue to allow sex workers on their site. Understand the gravity of that sentence, people. That tells me that OnlyFans was going to move forward in whatever they were doing, but if they had not gotten their banking, they got their. What I'm very much saying is, guys, OnlyFans got their funding. They got their funding, so it's like, oh, so we can keep doing what we're doing, but we got money now. Cool. Okay, you guys can stay. It had nothing to do with sex workers. But that's the thing I want to clear up. That it's not a victory for saying sex work is real work. I'm not saying that. I am saying don't take victory over something that OnlyFans was able to do, because they were still going to drop you if they couldn't get the funding they wanted. That alone should tell you everything, folks. Especially if you're a sex worker, there's other avenues. Prove that you're a real business person, and you're just a lazy content creator. That's all I'm saying. But the last bit of news I got is actually some good news for our Feel Good News segment. That it looks like Biden may be one step closer to actually getting his industrial infrastructure U.S. plan off the ground, as the House has now voted on a $3.5 trillion with a T spending bill.
From Washington. Early this morning, the Senate passed President Biden's $3.5 trillion budget to expand the social safety net, setting the stage for a big legislative battle this fall. Our congressional correspondent Rachel Scott has the latest. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning. After a 14-hour fiery debate on the Senate floor overnight, lawmakers have now passed this budget resolution along party lines. This opens up the door for Democrats to advance the next part of President Biden's agenda, a $3.5 trillion package that Democrats plan to pass on their own. This includes a massive amount in spending on several Democratic priorities, everything from universal pre-K to free community college, funding to combat climate change. It would be paid for by increasing taxes on the wealthy and corporations. Republicans, who just hours earlier worked with Democrats on a bipartisan infrastructure package in the Senate, are blasting this as a spending spree. But the reality here is that Democrats hold a razor-thin majority in the Senate. They have now laid the groundwork to be able to pass this on their own. Their challenge will be keeping their own party united. Moderate Democrats have already indicated that $3.5 trillion price tag is too much, George.
There's going to be a razor-thin margin either way. Okay, Rachel, thanks very much.
Yeah, razor thin margin. $3.5 trillion spending bill. It's only $3.5 trillion because, again, we have neglected our infrastructure this entire time. It had something was bound to give. At the same time, here's the thing: that yes, they were going to do free care, free child care, which again is needed right now. Universal. I like the fact of funding to combat climate change because right now, if you ain't noticed, it's getting longer days and hotter and short days being cooler. And even though I live in the South, it is seeing everywhere that you can see climate change. It's beyond time for us to do some things about that. But the one thing I did love about that is the simple fact of the matter is that taxes would be raised on the wealthy and corporations. Cool, as they should have been. I have been saying this, guys, from Jump Street. Historically, when the economy has done well, taxes were raised on the wealthy and corporations and conglomerates, and tax breaks were given to the middle and lower classes. I have been saying that because I have yet to find somebody to prove me wrong. Historically, it's always worked. You know what happens when it doesn't work? When you cut the taxes on the wealthy and the corporations, and you give them tax breaks because somebody still believes that Reaganomics works. Doesn't. It doesn't work. You can't. So for all those that don't understand Reaganomics, all the time say, well, we just gotta feed the rich at the top so much that it trickles down. Trickle down economics is BS. It's almost midnight. I could say that. It's BS. It doesn't work. We shouldn't be surprised. So again, with moderate Democrats threatening this bill, and I'm like, you know what, moderate Democrats, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Moderate Democrats are just Republican light. They really are. It's like saying we're almost right wing, but we still gotta, we're not like that. We understand, but we ain't that. That's why I call moderate Democrats Republican light. Because the simple fact of the matter is, yeah, this does have a chance of being derailed in Congress, but at the same time, this has to happen. And they can't call it a spending spree when Donald Trump probably gave the biggest spending spree of his single presidential term to the rich and corporations. Because I have been saying this, the only way that you appreciate Donald Trump is that you were rich or you're a corporation. Because for those 4 years, it was freaking Christmas for y'all. Just saying. But anyway, that's really going to do it. So we're going to go into our feel-good segment. Like we usually do, how the fact we got here, we usually cover a lot of things, sometimes doom and gloom, sometimes we can lose your faith in humanity. But hey, it's the middle of the week. It's about to be Thursday. And, we want to send you out toward some good vibrations. And I always try to find stories that are uplifting and, try to put a smile on your face. And I think I did it with this one because we've all tried cotton candy, right? I still love cotton candy. I kind of miss it, especially good cotton candy. Remember cotton candy grapes? Cotton candy grapes were great. But anyway, getting sidetracked. I always love when a kid tries a food for the first time and the reaction they have on their face is priceless. Like this one little girl just discovered cotton candy, and just watch.
Treats, right? So watch this little girl's reaction when she tries it for the very first time.
No. Eat it. Baby, look.
She's like, no, it's too soft.
It is soft, isn't it? Look. Yummy.
That's cute.
Soft and fluffy.
Right.
Almost looks like a plush toy, right?
Cute.
Didn't take her long to figure out the best thing about cotton candy is the taste of cotton candy.
And did you watch how you could see how it kind of worked out? And then she said, this is kind of good.
Funny how kids do that with anything sweet, not fruits or vegetables, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
And the rest is history, by the way. She'll be wanting that for a while.
I laughed my head off at that. First off, she's an adorable little girl, right? But the whole thing's like, okay. And again, cuteness overload. I know. I say that I have this. I sit there and tell my girlfriend all the time, I said, if we have a girl and she winds up being cute like her, we won't see her between our grandmothers. But anyway, I just thought that was cool. But that's really going to do it for us, guys, for this podcast. I do thank everybody that liked, that watched, that let everybody know that we were running in the midnight hour. The train don't stop. We don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm sorry. That was a terrible P. Diddy reference. But anyway, before we get there, do some shameless plugging. I want to talk to my buddy, Big BZA Dot. You can definitely find him, Adamon Westman, on Facebook, Big BZA Dot, on all socials. He definitely has a couple of podcasts of his own, the Smoking Trailer Sundays from 6:30 to 9 p.m., in which he shows movies and video game trailers, especially with Gamescom that happened this week. I know he's got a whole bunch of video game trailers he wants to show. He also has the RAF, which is like America's Funniest Home Videos, that done by WorldStar every Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 p.m., especially with this most recent one about the Milk Crate Challenge. I promise to God that was... But anyway, for all of his shows and any new announcements, you can definitely check him out, Adamon Westman, on Facebook or Big BZA Dot on all socials. And also, shout out to the guys, Ari and Gee Present Geek Salad. You can definitely find them on Facebook at Ari and Gee Present Geek Salad, and also on YouTube with the same name. Podcasting brethren that love to talk about all things of nerd and fandom, and definitely should look there and definitely should give them a look, share, and subscribe as well. As for yours truly, the link at the bottom, you copy and paste that into your browser, will take you to my link tree that has the Facebook and YouTube groups for all of my podcasts. How the Frack We Got Here, Get Bit, and of course, also its podcast. My IG, BlackFox447, definitely follow it. Sometimes I like to post movie reviews. Sometimes I like to post video game reviews. Sometimes I like to post things that I think are inspirational. Sometimes I like to show pictures of working out. You know, I'm not in shape. I'm trying to get in a shape. I'm kind of in a shape. I'm trying to get in shape, but you get the point. But anyway, definitely like and follow me there, guys. And also, let me know about the podcast. Let me know about stories or certain things, especially that's going on in the U.S. that you may want to know or may want me to look into, because I'm all about looking into things and actually presenting you with all the truth and facts and going from there. Aside from that, guys, last thing I'll say before I get out of here is that COVID/Delta is real. If you are not vaccinated, I am not going to try to convince you otherwise. I will hope to sit there and say that please do not wait until you're in the hospital with COVID to change your mind. There's plenty of research out there aside from YouTube. Please don't go to tinfoil hats. Go to medical professionals. Go to doctors. Go to the actual Pfizer website or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson. Go to the CDC, the National Health Institute, Doctors Without Borders, the World Health Organization. There are so many areas where you can find information to make the best decision for yourself. But honestly, I've always sit there and said it best, what's your alternative? Because you can't hide in the ground forever and the world is still going to move forward. Also, wear a mask. Please, oh please, wear a mask. We are at this level now because of other individuals. We had to sprawl backwards, which means that we got to go back to wearing masks. This is way of the world. I'm not gonna place that blame on that. It's just simple fact of the matter is, guys, we must do better in order for everybody to be okay. I want everybody to go back to some sense of normalcy. We won't go back to what we were. We have to go back to what we can be now. And I believe that we can be great. It just has to be done. Also, if you have the ability to make somebody's life great, whether it's a minute, day, hour, or lifetime, do it. The world could use more random acts of kindness, because that's the way we're going to make sure that humanity stays around. Whew, that was a lot. The last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here is all about staying informed. This show is not about changing minds or persuading or presenting arguments. We are simply doing what the news stations of old used to do, provide you with all the information like to make up your mind for yourself. We do a lot better as society as well. We do a lot better as a society once we're informed. We be progressive, we move forward, we learn from history and try to right some wrongs at the same time, trying to be a better group of people. People. It has to be more than one. Like electing our first Madam Vice President who is black. Still thinking kudos on there. Still can't wait for our first Madam Vice President. Come on, Michelle Obama. Please, Michelle Obama. Aside from that, guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you. Like I said, if you're watching this playback, please comment if it's live. I still want to know you guys' opinion on everything we talked about. Aside from that, guys, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will definitely get through this all together. But we have to do it together. Peace.